So not many people know this, but I actually did go to college and I actually graduated as an accountant. And if you would ask me, if you were to start all over again, would you have done everything the same? The answer is absolutely not. I would have not done accountant. It took me about 4 years, and in those 4 years, I could have made so much money if I found this list before. So in this video, I'm gonna give you guys the 7 best jobs if you want to start over again. Whether it's because you lost your license, you found out the job you loved is not really the job you love, or for example, you want to make more money. Whatever it is, there's something on this list for you. And my favorite one is number 6 because it's my favorite, but most importantly, you can make almost upwards to $500,000, which is actually a bunch of money. But there is nothing on this list that takes more than 2 years of schooling or training, which is massive because we're almost told like the only way to make a lot of money is to go to school for a decade. No, that's not what this list is about. And most importantly, guys, if you want more details like the description of the job, the salary, the license you need, all that stuff, I'm gonna have it linked down below. But for this video, what I really wanna do is to tell you how I would approach this myself. Like, how would I try to change careers into something? Because, you know, everything is like a Google away, ChatGPT away, but this way you actually get some insight on how I would approach this, and you can basically try it out for yourself. Okay, so let's get right into this video. Number 1 is going to be becoming a real estate agent. Now, obviously, when I think about a real estate agent, I think about someone that makes about 3% off the purchase price of this home. And if you sell a home for $500,000, well, guess what? That's about $15,000. Now imagine if you sold a $10 million home, that's $300,000. That's so much money, right? But who the heck is going to give a person that just got their license a $10 million home, or yet alone a $500,000 listing? Most of the time, you're not going to be able to get it done. So here is how I would approach this. First, I would make long-term investments in clients. Real estate agents don't just make money by selling homes. They also make money by renting homes and leasing them out, okay? And guess what? Every single person that I know, well, whenever they're renting, usually they're thinking about buying in the future. That's what happened to me, okay? I had an agent that helped me find, for example, a rental in Puerto Rico. And then that same agent through the same company helped me buy a home when the time came. So you can actually do that, okay? So you find homes for people, you usually charge them about a flat fee of 1 month's rent. You make some good money like that, but you invest in that relationship. You know, you give them little gifts and all this other stuff, and you keep their memory thinking about you. And when the time comes, they'll think about you for buying a home. The second thing I would do while I'm basically trying to rent homes and all that other stuff, I would try to build a brand, okay? People don't go online and just look up, for example, real estate agent, and they don't just call the first number. They usually look to people that they see online. They're actively doing something. So I personally would basically, every person that I rent something with, I would take a picture of them with me and have them give me a testimonial. I would record the homes. I would become an expert as far as real estate. I would show a lot of homes, and then those people would reach out to me and I would become an expert and someone that's very well known, you know, like Grant Cardone in a sense. But this whole idea, I really got it from Graham Stephan, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was his approach in the beginning. And eventually, this guy was selling homes that were worth over $1 million. But he first started out by renting homes, and that's a great start. And the competition is less there also. And you can make a lot of money doing it. Number 2, a commercial truck driver. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay? Maybe you don't want to drive for hours and hours and hours, and neither do I, okay? But if I'm able to get a job within 2 months and start making $5,000 a month, I mean, that is amazing. I mean, I was in school for like 4 years to become an accountant, to hopefully graduate and make $60,000 to $70,000 as an entry-level accountant, okay? This is much better. Now, I was actually involved in one of these businesses, not really directly, but because I gave someone money to be able to buy their first truck and to actually get into the business. So I have some insight on how this works, and I also have family that's involved. Now, the only way I would actually do this would be like on a temporary basis, and here's why, okay? Yes, you can make a lot of money within 2 months or like 6 months, okay? Making $5,000 a month, and the only thing you have to do is drive. Well, it sounds too good to be true because it is. You have to drive a lot and you're also away from your family a lot. So I would basically do this for like 4 to 5 years, make $300,000 to $400,000 and then just pay off a home and then call it a day, okay? But the second way I would actually go about this is, well, I would actually use my money to buy trucks and to get drivers to drive them. And the way I understand it is the way the business works is these people, they split the profits, the roots in half. So if you're making like $5,000 a month, well, I get $2,500 and you get $2,500. But guess what? I'm not doing any of the driving. Yes, I have the vehicle, I have the maintenance, I have everything to take care of. But this way, I don't have to spend all my time on the road. So it's a job that I would do temporarily, but I would strongly consider it. Imagine, okay, I'm in college. Instead of being in college for like 4 years, well, what's 4 times 6? That's about 24. That's $240,000 instead of me graduating with about $20,000 in debt and no money. That's a big difference, right? Is my math right? I think it is, right? Now, number 3 is a dental hygienist, okay? My wife, when I first met her, she was actually a dentist herself here in Dominican Republic. Now, she's my wife and she's the mother of my child and she's at home and we're very lucky to have her. But in Dominican Republic, like they don't get paid that much. But in the US specifically, dental hygienists, man, in 2 years, they're making like around $80,000, which is a lot of money, honestly, okay? Now, they're not really like full-blown dentists. They basically do like, like the cleaning and the educating and the x-rays and so on. But I think that it's such a good job for the most part because it does have flexibility. So here would be my approach. First of all, I wouldn't just work for one office. I would work for multiple offices. And yes, you could do that. You could work for multiple dental offices and you can make money from each of them. So if you're doing high-end clients or high-end offices, well, you can make much more than $80,000 and work part-time here, part-time here, part-time there, and make a good amount of money. Number 2 is I wouldn't really take this job as a starter job because some people do that. They say, well, I'm gonna become a dental hygienist first, and then I'm gonna work up to building my own office, and then I'm gonna work up to becoming a whole dentist and so on. But I really rather just do this. And the main reason is because it takes 2 years. And if I were to go to school for 6 more years to become a full-blown dentist, well, that's $480,000 that I could actually make being a dental hygienist for 6 years than instead being, for example, trying to become a dentist and graduate with a bunch of debt. Honestly, there isn't really that much money that you need to make to have a pretty good life. So my approach would be that personally. I wouldn't be trying to become a full-blown dentist, spend 6 more years in school, spend $200,000 to do it, to then finally graduate and make 200 grand or 300 grand a year, but then the office hours are a lot and the flexibility might not be as great as you think. So I think it's a really good job. In 2 years, making $80,000, it's amazing. Now, job number 4 is becoming a plumber. And I think every man should be a plumber for their own homes, okay? Everyone should know exactly how to unclog a toilet, how to install a toilet, how to drain a drainage pipe, how to install a faucet. All these things are things that we should know how to do, and especially how to install a hot water system. It sounds complicated, but trust me, it is not. Every time I saw a plumber do it, I would say to myself, this is difficult, but it's not impossible for me to learn how to do these things, okay? And guess what? The way I would approach this is very simple and very basic. And obviously plumbers make a good amount of money because although I think that everyone should be a plumber, a lot of people do think it's a job beneath them and they refuse to actually do it or have any interest in it, okay? But because of that, it's a really good job. And it is a job that is recession proof because even when people don't have money or jobs, if something breaks, they're gonna find the money to actually fix it up, okay? Now, the main idea was, well, I would actually work for a company, being a plumber, right? That way I could do what they need me to do and I can make a good amount of money. That can make me $50,000 to $60,000 a year. But most importantly, I would also work with Airbnbs and real estate agents and other people, like normal people, right? And I would actually work with them because when I was staying at an Airbnb, I had the same plumber come twice. And my understanding is that this same plumber is the one that manages just about all the homes that this Airbnb owner actually has. And I could be that too, right? And this guy just comes in, installs a hot water machine or whatever, and he's like $400. And I'm like, really? Okay. They make a lot of money, man. So it's a pretty good job with a lot of flexibility where you're able to do your own gigs, able to work for a person for fixed money, and you're also able to have a good skill at home so you can fix all the stuff in your house. Super important. Number 5, become an electrician. Now, funny story here. My dad, before he became a politician, he was going to be an electrician. Now, the story does not have a happy ending because he ended up dropping out because he said, I am terrified of getting shocked. Apparently he got shocked a few times and he was like, yeah, I'm done with this, okay? He went into politician later on and he won and he did his campaign stuff, which is great stuff, but he quit, okay? But electricians, man, they make a good amount of money and you're able to become one like in 2 years. Now, not a master electrician. That takes, for example, some mentorship or apprenticeship and you get into that later on. But once you get your electrician stuff, you're able to start working and making money. Then you become an apprentice and you're able to actually become a master electrician later on. But there are several different approaches, right? One approach is you work for a company. Let's say, for example, Con Edison or whatever, or a local electrician company in your local area. Or you can actually work for other people and help them out. Here's a personal story, okay? When I bought my first home in Puerto Rico, there was a massive issue with the electricity. From the pole, which was outside and it was underground, well, there was no connection to my house. So in order to get my house connected to the outside, we had to dig a 6-foot hole and install all the electrical wiring beneath the ground. Now this was gonna cost me about $12,000 and about 3 months while I waited for everything to come through and the license and all this stuff. But there was this guy and he was like, hey, I do this all the time. He charged me $6,000. It took him a weekend and he did everything up to code and everything was perfect, okay? So imagine that, okay? A weekend, $6,000, just like that. There are jobs like that. And for example, okay, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I don't even know how to fix a light bulb in my house, okay? Like I know how to, take a light bulb up, obviously, but I don't know how to uninstall the whole thing, how to turn off all the breakers, and then how to plug everything back and all. I don't know how to do that, okay? But someone doing that, installing a ceiling fan, all that stuff, that could be like $50, $30, or even more money. Simple things that take you like 15, 20 minutes, you can get on TaskRabbit and you could actually do those things and make some extra money. And that's pretty good stuff, okay? I like it a lot. I'm probably gonna do a course on electricity and also a course on plumbing, not for like trying to make money purposes, but just to try to know all these skills in my home in case there is an emergency and I need to get things done. They take about like 2 months or 6 months, by the way. They don't take that long. Number 6 is my favorite. I told you, it's a financial advisor. And I love the idea of counseling people and helping people with their finances and helping them make money. But there's this ethical thing with me that for some reason I just cannot overcome. And when you actually try to become a financial advisor, there are several different licenses you could actually get to do several different things. You can get a license to sell stocks and buy bonds. You can get a license to actually give advice and to manage portfolios. You can get a license to actually charge people for asset management. There are a lot of things, and that's why the link is down below. But the main thing is, there is a portion of this where you can make a lot of money from your client, even though it's not in your client's best interest. I don't like that. So my main goal would be, if I were to ever become a financial advisor, it would be to be a fiduciary. A fiduciary, everything that he does or she does has to be in the best interest of his or her client. That way, I don't want to sell you whole life insurance. I don't want to sell you assets that I know don't make any sense to you, but since I'm getting a commission and I can make some long-term income, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, okay? So I would probably go into fiduciary work. But if you're able to kind of like put that aside and say, well, it's just business, I'm offering products that are for this person and so on. Well, this job can make you a lot of money, like upwards to like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. I am not joking. Look it up. You can make a lot of money and you can do this like within 2 years or like maybe 3 years. It depends on how hard you study and if you're able to pass the exams for the most part. But it is incredible. I think if I ever had to get a job, I would probably get into like financial advising. It would just click for me. I think so. Now, the last one, number 7, which is the most surprising one, is to become a flight attendant. I had no idea to become a flight attendant, you could actually do it within 2 months to maybe 6 months or so. And usually even the training is done by the airline and they pay for the whole thing for you. Now, obviously, a flight attendant isn't going to make you rich overnight, but you're able to get 30,000 to 50 to 60K. And once you get into like your tenure and you're like a senior there, well, possibly you could even make like upwards to $100,000. That's a lot of money. Now, this is like one of those jobs, like the whole like trucking job, which I wouldn't do right now in this picture I'm in right now with my wife, with my daughter. I just don't want to be flying back and forth and being over here because I will miss a lot of moments of my family's life. But if I'm back to being 17 years old, I just graduated high school, and I can get a job being a flight attendant and make $60,000, like 50K or even $40,000 for like 4 years. Well, in 4 years, I got to make 160 grand. That's a lot of money, you know. And even while I'm being a flight attendant, I could be doing, for example, like some online courses. So once I'm done with that, I could basically just get into a normal job for the most part. That's a little bit more stable as far as like not having to be over there and over here and all this flying around stuff, okay? And there's a lot of cool perks, obviously, but it's one of those jobs that you can get into. The cost is high because it is a lot of flying around and there's like little stability and roots you could actually build up. But if you're young and you're just getting started and you don't have responsibilities and you're able to do this, well, it's not that bad. I would have preferred to do this than go to college and get that much money while I'm getting a degree also, and then graduate and then just go into a normal job. I think that those options aren't usually given to us. We usually are told you have to go to college and stick to that because I think everyone's worried about you not finishing. But if you're committed, you're going to be committed, okay? For the most part. Guys, those are 7 jobs for people that are willing to start over. And they take less than 2 years. Some of these jobs make you over 100K. Let me know in the comments down below, which one of these were you most surprised by? And which one of these would you actually consider? Let me know. For me, honestly, I told you already, okay? It has to be number 6, to be a financial advisor. But if I'm in a clinch, I could become a trucker like in a second, okay? And it's not to denote truckers or whatever, but it's a pretty accessible job where you make a lot of money, but it is grueling work. And I get sleepy. Maybe I won't do that, okay? Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. Peace.